Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Some people do stupid things. Don't do stupid things. You are about to hear my opinion. Do your own research.
Scientists just found out that our brains are accumulating microplastics faster than any other organ in our bodies, increasing in concentration by about 6% per year. Researchers from the University of New Mexico dissolved brain tissue in a lye solution, which broke down the neurons and blood vessels and left behind a slurry containing thousands of tiny plastic particles. By analyzing the brains of 52 human cadavers, half from 2016 and half from 2024, the team discovered an increase in plastic concentration of 50% over an 8-year period. On average, the brain sampled contained about 7 grams of microplastics, roughly the weight of an average plastic spoon. These tiny shards of plastic are in the nanometer range, usually around 1,000 times thinner than a human hair. They are small enough to pass through our cell membranes, and here they can wreak nano havoc by causing cells to rupture or leak. To make matters worse, the study also found that up to 10 times the amount of microplastic is found in the brains of dementia patients compared to healthy brains, potentially linking microplastics to neurodegenerative diseases. The next phase of research is to use this new and improved method of analysis to look at much larger studies to see if an increased level of plastic in the brain maps to other diseases like Alzheimer's. Although by the time these new findings are released, at this rate I will be more action man than actual man. If you like science and maintaining the plasticity of your brain, follow for more.
That's a lot of plastic. And just about everything is like wrapped in plastic. And if you drink out of a plastic bottle, oh my goodness. And even if you're like, oh, I'm only going to drink out of like aluminum cans. I know glass is way better, but if you're going to drink out of aluminum cans, there's still a lining of plastic inside of it. So you're still putting that stuff in your body. That's crazy. That's a lot of plastic. I didn't realize it was that much.
We now live in such a world that the funeral is prioritized over those who have died. The wedding itself is prioritized over the actual marriage. The appearance of the external body is prioritized over the soul. We have become a superficial generation where the packaging of a food is more important than the food itself.
That was incredibly deep. Yeah, funerals are huge and lavish, and it's not as important as the person that has passed away. Weddings. Don't get me started on weddings. I went and got married at the courthouse, and that was absolutely perfect because my family was there, and that's all that mattered. And then, food packaging. There's so much science and psychology that goes into food packaging to like catch your eye and make you want to purchase items based on how they are wrapped, which is incredible because the stuff inside is crap.
In March 2025, a man in Kuwait was astonished when a tall humanoid shape emerged from his living room wall and made its way into his backyard. As the man cautiously approached, he noticed the being's form transform into a ball of swirling lights before disappearing into a myriad of tiny particles that dissipated into the grass. Was this a visitation from the spirit world or a close encounter with an otherworldly visitor from the stars? The mysterious event left the man baffled, wondering if he had witnessed something beyond the bounds of human comprehension. One possible explanation for why the alien might have been running from something is that it was fleeing from danger or persecution. Perhaps it was being pursued by another entity, whether it be another alien race, a government organization, or even another otherworldly force, and sought refuge in a nearby home. Alternatively, the alien may have had a task or mission to complete and needed to evade detection by other beings as it moved through the home.
Oh man, what a missed opportunity there. That clip went into why the alien was possibly running away from something, but why didn't it go into it emerged from the wall, like it did weird things and then it just blah, 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 into the grass? Now that is something that should have been focused on because that's fantastic versus why it's running. But still, either way, that was a really awesome image of an alien. I freaking love that. I just would have loved to know more about what it did, not why it was doing it.
The three people on the left are actors. They've been briefed to stand or sit when they hear this. Everyone else that's brought in is a genuine shortlisted applicant. They've been given no instructions other than to fill out their forms. My team and I were secretly watching from another room. The more socially compliant a person is, the more they're likely to look to others for signs of how to behave.
This is going to be your spot.
And the more people, the greater the pressure to join in. In this case, whether to stand or sit. Those people that didn't follow the crowd were removed.
I think we have to lose Amy, sadly.
Amy, come with me.
Once we had a full house, we got rid of the actors, leaving us with a room full of compliant people standing up and sitting down, even though nobody told them to do this.
That's some seriously implanted herd mentality. Talk about following the crowd. It's like that monkey one that we saw a while back where if a monkey went up a ladder to get food, they all got sprayed with water and then they would end up beating up whoever went up to get the food. And then, you know, they stopped spraying them with water, but they still continued to beat each other up if somebody new went up and got the food. But basically, don't follow the crowd. Don't be afraid to do your own thing. I mean, unless, of course, a bunch of monkeys are going to beat you up.
Breaking conspiracy theory news. No, I'm not going to talk about how J.D. Vance shook somebody's hand and then probably sent them to their maker. Or about the possibility of large structures underneath the pyramids of Giza. Or even the JFK files, where it's out there that in some of the footage, Lee Harvey Oswald is one of the bystanders and is clearly not the shooter. I'm not going to talk about any of those things, although that does keep me up at night. No, I want to talk about a very subtle conspiracy theory. One so subtle that it slipped right through the cracks and nobody thought about it. Do you remember years ago, 5, 8, 10 years ago, there was this big to-do, and there were going to be all these laws passed that every household in America had to convert over to LED bulbs because it was going to save so much electricity and save everybody money. Now, I don't like an LED bulb, and I hate fluorescent bulbs. They give me a headache, and I'm pretty sure that they do something to my cells, activate some kind of weird crap. Anyway, why is it that the majority of Americans have switched over to LED bulbs, but your electricity costs have gotten way higher? Is that just me? Also, I'm pretty sure that the Loch Ness Monster is real.
Hold the phone. He said that there are images of Lee Harvey Oswald as a spectator? I didn't know that. Okay, that's going to start keeping me up at night. That's insane. And then what's this thing about J.D. Vance? Now I got to go do some research and find out what happened with J.D. Vance shaking someone's hand. But yeah, the whole LED light bulb crap is crap because our electricity bills are still ridiculously expensive. And I know it has to do with inflation and then changing times and everything and the value of $1 and all of that crap. But still, why did I change to all of these LED light bulbs if it's not saving a single penny? Gosh, Lee Harvey Oswald was a spectator? Oh.
There's a rumor that Marilyn Monroe's body went missing for several hours after her death. Most of us by now have already heard of the countless conspiracy theories surrounding the real cause of her death, but not many people have heard the conspiracy theories about what happened to Marilyn after her death. On the day of her passing, Marilyn's body was rumored to have been unaccounted for 10 hours. When she was found in her home on August 5th, 1962, around 1 a.m., the police weren't called to the scene for more than 4 hours. And when her corpse finally left her home, it allegedly disappeared before checking into the morgue 6 hours later. Now, mind you, the morgue was a 30 to 45-minute drive away. I do feel that it's important for me to say that there's no solid evidence to support this as fact because it's never been thoroughly investigated. But what is a fact, and a very disturbing one at that, is that several reporters had bribed the men put in charge of guarding her body in the morgue so that they could acquire photos of Marilyn's body post-mortem. Many of those images that were snapped by reporters were actually displayed in a Hollywood museum before being transferred to the archives. This is a more well-known fact fact, but after Richard Poncher passed away, he requested to be buried face down on top of Marilyn Monroe's resting place. And Hugh Hefner requested to be buried alongside her, and this is after he had exposed Marilyn's undressed images in a Playboy magazine without her consent while she was still alive. All of this to say that this woman deserved so much better.
Oh yeah, she absolutely deserved better. And there was a lot of questionable stuff happening. You know, was she taken out because she knew about the aliens, because she was seeing the Kennedys, or what's going on? But as for her body disappearing, I did a little bit of digging, and it's some BS. Her body didn't go missing for 6 hours after she passed away. She did go straight for an autopsy, but there is no evidence that her body actually went missing for 6 hours after her passing. Although it wouldn't surprise me, because that poor woman.
This has been concealed for centuries. The real purpose of the Eiffel Tower is something far beyond what you've been told. Most people believe it's nothing more than a symbol of Parisian culture or a product of the industrial era. The truth? The Eiffel Tower was designed as a massive antenna, an instrument for wireless electricity experiments, and its secrets could have revolutionized the world. The year was 1889, and the tower was unveiled at the Paris World's Fair, touted as a temporary exhibit. But here's where it gets strange. The true intent behind this engineering marvel was hidden in plain sight. Nikola Tesla visited Paris in the 1880s. During his stay, he met with Gustave Eiffel and shared his groundbreaking vision for a world powered by free, wireless energy. Tesla had already proven with his Wardenclyffe Tower that electricity could be transmitted wirelessly across vast distances. Eiffel, utterly fascinated by Kessler's revolutionary ideas, took these principles and incorporated them into the design of the Eiffel Tower. This was not just about aesthetics, this was about power, real power. During the tower's construction, strange phenomena were reported. Electromagnetic anomalies, unexplained lights, and strange sparks were seen surrounding the tower. Locals spoke of nighttime experiments, and some even claimed to have witnessed orbs of light dancing around the structure.
The thing has been sitting right in front of my face my entire life, and I never even thought of it as anything other than what it is, just a leftover from the World's Fair. And they're like, screw it, leave it. And now it's like a huge tourist attraction. I have never even given it a second thought that it may be that. That's new brain fuel. I love it.
What's up, America? Mystery underwater pyramids found off the coast of Taiwan. So apparently underwater structures had been discovered in 1986 off the coast of Taiwan, but now researchers have dated these to 12,000 BC, meaning these structures were created long ago and also point to a lower sea level. Now, of course, that makes sense because there's several Indian cities that are partially underwater right now that are ancient. On top of that, it's making people question the dates of very ancient structures like the pyramids, which are supposedly 4,000 years old, but looking like they may be more like 8,000 or 9,000 years old. So here's some images of the underwater structures and pyramids found off the coast of Taiwan. So these are divers at the Yonaguni Monument. This is 60 miles east of Taiwan in the water. And of course, here's a better image of the structure. You can see this was clearly made by man, and you can see that this is now totally underwater. This is 60 miles east of Taiwan in the water. This is supposedly 12,000 years old. This is pointing to an ancient civilization and an advanced society long ago that built something like this. I mean, you can clearly tell this is man-made. Look at that. Of course, just for reference, this is a pyramid they found in China that's supposedly 16,000 years old, the oldest one. And of course, here's Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which is about 10 to 12,000 years old. So we're seeing a lot of structures around the world that are being discovered that came about long before the dawn of what we classify civilization here on planet Earth. 5,000 or 6,000 years before, which calls into question how much history we're missing.
So much. So very much. And we may never learn it. But as we dig and swim, I guess, we're learning more stuff. But those pyramids, are fantastic. And what it makes me think of is the reset, right? The polar shift, how the poles do this funny flip thing and then it turns the world around and does crazy stuff and washes everything out. And now there's new land masses and new shaped oceans. So, yeah, we're due for one of those, which is terrifying, but at the same time, super freaking cool because that's what happened. It's what I believe happened. And that's probably why they're there. And the pyramids happened to survive because they were far enough inland on that particular landmass when this stuff did the stuff that it didn't wash away. Or it just buried whatever is under the pyramids.
In 1974, we sent a message to space and received a reply in 2001. In an effort to discover intelligent alien life, Carl Sagan sent a transmission known as the Arecibo message into space via radio waves. The message addressed to intelligent extraterrestrial beings was the most powerful radio transmission ever transmitted to space by humanity. By comparison, the signal sent into space was 1,000,000 times stronger than a typical television broadcast. Aimed at a group of stars located more than 25,000 light-years away, the pictorial message was sent in the hope that one day we would receive a similar response from another civilization. The radio signal included the location of our planet Earth within our star system, the basics of mathematics and science, and the type of antenna that was used to relay the signal, all characteristics that an intelligent alien civilization should understand. The message prepared by Carl Sagan and his colleagues also included information about our species, our music, even our physical appearance was included in the radio message, as well as in our DNA codes. A few years after the signal was sent, people forgot about it. Then 27 years later, already in 2001, a crop circle appeared shaking the scientific community. A pattern appeared in a farm field, right next to the UK's largest telescope and observatory, the Chilbolton, where the world's largest fully addressable weather radar is located. And the surprise was that it looked like a response to the transmission sent. Way back in 1974, it was considered by many to be one of the most impressive and important crop circles ever to appear on our planet, as this circle, unlike others, carried a message direct from space. While many dismissed the crop circle near Chilbolton as yet another hoax, the analysis showed that it carried a message, or rather a response from another civilization, describing a different solar system in the universe. The emitter image, non-human DNA, and some microwave antennae. The Chilbolton crop circle was the final answer we had always hoped for. Incredibly, just a year before the extraterrestrial message was discovered, in the year 2000, a circle of unknown shape appeared alongside Chilbolton. A year later, the puzzle was put together, and we could see that the crop circle that appeared in 2000 was, in fact, a representation of the microwave telescope used to transmit the signal to us. In 2001, 3 days after the mysterious answer appeared alongside Chilbolton, another crop circle was found depicting what appeared to be an alien face. According to the library Pleiades.net portal, the decimal equivalents of the binary code were not modified concerning the original Arecibo, but the atomic numbers of the elements that make up the basis of life had been altered. Silicon, an element with an atomic number of 14, was added in precisely the correct sequence, between oxygen, atomic number 8, and phosphorus, atomic number 15. In 1969, the late Ben Volcani, a renowned microbiologist at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, discovered the crucial role of silicon in carbon-based life. His work and that of his colleagues, such as Charles Mayhard, also at Scripps, and Edith Carlisle in the 1970s at UCLA, demonstrated that the presence of silicon is critical in a variety of terrestrial life forms, as well as in the structure of human cells, example, in the union of cartilage and mineral aspects of bones. It remains to be debated whether the crop circle that appeared alongside Chilbolton was, in fact, an extraterrestrial response. However, many people are firmly convinced that not only is the 2001 Chilbolton an actual message from another intelligent alien civilization in the universe, but we receive similar messages almost every day.
So some of that feels like it's a little bit of, just a little bit. But it is definitely opening a new can of worms in my head because I want to see if there have been some scientific translations of crop circles. Because why wouldn't we do that? I mean, we're sending crap out with our information into space. why wouldn't something else be sent back? Like crop circles. And as far as us sending stuff out like that golden disc on Voyager, right? I find it absolutely hilarious that our scientists think that other species use the same kind of language, even if it's math, as we do, because we don't know what's going on out there. Everything here is relative to our species on our planet. Everything else could be completely different. And they may have no clue what we're doing. They may think it's like an attack, like it's a threat of war or something like that. So, yeah, I want to definitely look into like breaking down crop circles.
Now, I don't know if you lot are aware, but I'm a recovering conspiracy theorist. I used to work in a factory, and I couldn't wait until break times to tell all the boys about my latest conspiracy theories. I tell them what I believed was proper cutting-edge intel that none of them were aware of. I'd be in full flow, connecting the dots that people thought weren't connectable. They would sit down and listen to me going on and on, while they were reading the Sun newspaper and eating their curds and whey. And then when break time ended, they would tell me that I was crazy and paranoid and making things up in my head. But I thought that's exactly the type of things people would say because I was getting closer to the truth and they were trying to silence me. But then I started doubting myself because at the time I didn't have much confidence. So I sought help. And now, thanks to the Royal Society for the Protection of Conspiracy Theorists, sponsored by Bacofoil, it's been 2 years, 6 months and 18 days since I last told a conspiracy theory to anyone.
Sponsored by Bacofoil. He's just not telling them to anybody. Still thinking about them, I'm sure. I know I can't stop. I love it. All right, it's finally that time that I've made you wait for. I do apologize. Wednesday I was out of town. Friday absolutely got away from me. The weekend I had some family issues to tend to. But here it is, the brand new series that we're going to watch, and I cannot guarantee that it will end like it's supposed to. There's like 6 parts to it, so let's get into part 1.
I want to show you this map of the 54 countries that participated in a secret CIA program to abduct people from all around the world and hide them so that they could secretly interrogate them using violence, both physical and psychological. This story begins 6 days after 9/11, when George W. Bush signs a memo giving the CIA free rein to secretly capture and detain suspected terrorists. But the question became what to do with these suspects once they were captured. Putting them in prison in the US would be problematic because it would mean that the US would have to follow the rules of war, which entails declaring them as prisoners of war and giving them access to a lawyer and a trial. And crucially, no torture allowed. Those are the rules that most of the world has agreed upon. And the CIA didn't want to play by these rules. The country was raging with anger and a thirst for revenge against those who did this. For the CIA, the rules would just slow them down in their hunt for the intelligence they needed to not only find the terrorists, but to stop future attacks. So the CIA looked abroad and began constructing a global network of secret prisons that would allow them to abduct and detain people outside of the view of the public, the press, and the law. The first target was a Palestinian citizen named Abu Zubaydah. He was hiding in Pakistan, and the CIA believed that he was a top al-Qaeda leader. In March 2002, CIA and FBI forces capture him in a raid in Pakistan. Zubaydah was shot in this raid and almost didn't survive. So the CIA flew in a doctor from a top US hospital to treat his wounds.
Yeah, no, I can't handle the suspense. We're going to watch part 2.
They needed to keep him alive so that they could extract intelligence from him, vital knowledge that the CIA wanted. But where to take him? The CIA had decided on Thailand, where they had worked out a deal with the Thai government, where the CIA could use this old US military base for whatever they were up to here. This facility became known as Detention Site Green. And the plan was to get Zubaida to talk using, quote, novel interrogation methods, meaning they were planning on using torture. But there was yet another problem: the law. Capturing people in someone else's country and then sending them to a third country without any plan to give them a trial or apply local laws, and then using torture, is all illegal, according to both international and American laws. So one key step in this effort was to ask the government lawyers back in Washington to create a legal justification for what they were about to do. And the lawyers did exactly what they were told. They drafted up a series of memos that argued that Al-Qaeda members were not typical soldiers. Instead, they would be considered, quote, unlawful enemy combatants. So according to the legal theory in this memo, which was meant to remain secret, the rules don't apply here. So the CIA got their legal justification. But even still, the CIA agents in Thailand needed to make sure that none of this would get out. They send this cable back to Washington, D.C., asking for, quote, assurance that Abu Zubaida would remain in isolation and incommunicado for the remainder of his life. And here we see in a cable from Washington that they gave these agents that assurance. Before I go on, let me note that I will not be going into detail about the interrogation techniques used by the
Well, I'm really glad he's not going to go into detail about these particular interrogation techniques, because YouTube would pull this video in a hot second, and I don't need that. But I'm pretty excited to learn about this because this is news to me, and I had never heard of anything before. And hopefully this series will have a proper ending because my track record doesn't show that we have proper endings. Everything is all left open and we're all like begging for closure, and I'm not delivering it. So I'm hoping that it happens this time. On that note, I'm calling it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and consider subscribing, and then come on back in a couple days because we're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.